You might remember at the end of last season, we were here at the student farm, and we are back joined again by Linda Carrier, who is the manager of the new OSU student farm, to get an update. Linda, so it's been hot and cold back and forth today. We've got a beautiful winter day, but you guys have been doing a lot behind the scenes. Tell us a little bit of what you've been doing.
Okay, well, we had to get a lot of infrastructure underway. Being that there's no utilities currently on here, we had to kind of start at square one and also put in a lot of irrigation. So the irrigation's been installed, so we're ready to take off with that. We're also working on building a fence, an 8-foot tall deer fence. It's going to take some time to get that going, but we've started on it. We're building students are building H-braces and fence gates and so forth.
What kind of thought process went into, you just had raw land out here, right? And
Yes.
so there's a lot that has to go into the planning of where to even put that infrastructure. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Well, that took quite a bit of planning because we had to kind of lay out several ideas of what we thought would work, just even from the basics of where the irrigation should go. So we're sitting up on top of the hill here, and it slopes down pretty gradual. So we've got our irrigation all up on the high ground.
So gravity will help it.
Yes, exactly. And so that way you don't have anything backflowing or any issues with that. We're originally starting out with strip tilling down each about 10-foot centers between our spacing. So our tiller will be 6 foot wide, and we'll till strips down through there and then center it and do another one. So they'll be 10 foot apart between centers.
Okay.
And then from there, we'll make our raised beds. And that's a freestanding raised bed.
Yeah, so when we talk about raised beds, a lot of times people think of like building a box, but we're just talking about mounding the soil out here. So it's no infrastructure to the actual raised bed necessarily.
Yes. It's a piece of equipment it's called a mulch layer bed shaper. And we actually just purchased a new one to use here. And it will actually, it kind of drags the soil into it and then makes a nice shape going all the way down. So it ought to do a real nice job.
Okay, so tilling it prior to that loosens that soil, allows it to do that.
Right.
But then you're going to leave, when you said strip tilling, you actually will leave this cover in the alleyways between those rows then?
Yes, yeah, because that'll help as far as erosion. When you just got bare ground everywhere, you're going to have a lot of erosion, a lot of foot traffic as far as when we get into harvesting and weeding and things like that. You don't want to have a muddy mess under you.
Right.
So yeah, we'll leave the cover crop. We'll probably maintain it by mowing it and keeping it somewhat contained.
Okay.
But, yeah.
And I think one thing you probably had to consider was your equipment, the size of your equipment. Like, when you built that fence, when are you going to turn around your tractor when you get to the end of the row and that sort of stuff as well?
Yeah. So we're going to put our north fence is going to be right up against the white fence down there. And mainly we decided to do that because there's some trees on the south side of that fence. And if we put the fence south of them, then that gives us not enough buffer room to turn around. So we're going to leave us a little room down there. It'll be kind of a grassy area. We'll just maintain it by mowing it and give us some extra room down there.
So it looks like you're really developing the west side before you go to the east side. Is that correct? But you do have some irrigation over there.
Yeah, we've got irrigation over there as well, but we decided to develop this side first because we've got the irrigation over here. We've got access to another source as well. And this being our first year, we're doing a lot of experimental stuff, or not experimental, but just it's trial and error.
Right. It's a new garden, right? And so even though you can come with all your experience, everything is always sometimes a new situation.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So you're starting here. Tell me what you're planting. Going to be planting cool season crops in here soon?
Yeah, we've already started. I think about mid-January, we started a whole bunch of cool season crops in the greenhouse. They're coming up really good now, about 3,600 plants actually.
All right.
So we'll do a lot of cool season through this area. As we shift down, we'll get into our warm season crops. And then if we need extra space, we can move over to the east side, but we'll probably only plant stuff over there that we know the deer won't mess with.
Okay, because you won't have a deer fence down there.
Yeah,
okay.
So we hope to get this one done before we start planting, which we need to.
Right.
But hopefully the weather will, help us out a little bit.
And I think that's an important factor. Just because you have the space doesn't mean you have to plant it all.
Exactly.
Because that means more materials, more labor, more harvesting and all of that stuff. And so, yeah, start small, right?
Yep, that's
even if
right.
that's a few acres.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Linda, thank you for giving us this update. And we'll be back in a few weeks to see those transplants going into the ground.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.